Good day everyone. This is Cadet Joshua C. Ramirez and my members are Dugil, Manghila, Lena, Ortega, Dihoras, Sorenga, Estrada, Diaz, and Lareta. And today, we're gonna tackle our topic, Indigenous people in the Philippines. This is for educational use only. Our instructor, Ronald Ardines, is allowing this to use as educational material. So for our objective is to know what are the culture and tradition as a Filipino people, to know their history and heritage, and to know what is the culture in our land and resource rights. So first is their beliefs and spirituality. What is belief system? Belief systems are often deemed as conviction, often in the form of supernatural or religious belief, though they may also take the form of scientific views or any philosophical beliefs relating to the sphere of daily life. There are many types of beliefs system out there. Many beliefs have to do with the worship of gods, reading sacred texts, and attending religious events. In order for a religion to exist, a belief system has to also exist. And what is spirituality? Spirituality is one's integrative view of life. It involves a quest for the meaning and ultimate value of life as opposed to an instrumentalist or materialistic attitude to life.
So my topic is about traditional arts and crafts continuation with indigenous language and scripts. So first, Western Visayas. Western Visayas or they call Region 6 in their tradition in Samar or grass called tikog, which is used to make a banig or sleeping mat is abundant in the province. They have the Banigan Festival or Kawayan Binigan Festival at Baysay, a celebration of the province's dynamic mat weaving industry. In Dumaguete, there is a group of artisans focusing in craft rocks and stones into vases, wall art, jewelry boxes, dining aware, and picture frames. Among other home arguments, the Negros Oriental arts and heritage curves mosaic-like patterns into these rocks before polishing. In Panay, in Antique, there is a patadyong usually made from cotton and abaca. This tube-like warp-proud garment cut will be worn and different ways, much like the malong or malong. It can be stylish skirt or a big shawl. It usually bears checkered design craft with bright house. So pwede nyo siya dito din. In Region 7, Central Visayas, it is a brilliant province. There's a skilled craftsmen who have different kinds of ceramic products. Like for example, the entire island of Maripipi has the abundance of kaolin and type of clay ideal for pots. As you can see kanang makakita mo kanang kanaganing more siya og clay nga kanang imo siyang ikon pormahon ninyo. Yan. This made many communities on this island produce clay pots, flower pots, and jars. Among others are ceramic goods. And in Iloilo City, about 50 mud paintings by the indigenous people or IPS students and hiring impaired pupils showcased at the Casagambua Har Museum, Jaro District. And in Leyte, there's are uniquely designed rattan and bamboo goods. They're crafted by the hands of the indigenous people such as the Mamanuat tribe. In Region 8, Eastern Visayas, in Cebu, there's a version of weave basket called bakat. Kaya tangan nyo ko ng mga gamit or something katong bit-biton gani. Then It is made of bamboo strips. It is put together by hand, forming lattice patterns. Bakat or basket have been Cebu even during pre-colonial times. Natives, Chinese traditions, or traders use it to store farm produce during harvest. From then to now, it's a part of parcel of Cebuano culture. And in Sikihor province, there are coconut handicraft like home decor and cutlery set. It has several artisans specialized in carving coconut wood. And also in Bohol, the famous for its two-way baskets, which are notably from different raw materials, especially in municipality of Antiquera. They have bamboo, rattan, wicker, seed, and bori. And last is Calabarzon, region uh, XBI. In Angono, every year on November 22 to 23, local people parade about 100 gigantes, each uniquely designed to portray character or to personality and idea according to folklore. A tradition started when Agono natives created an effigy sarcophagus, or they called tangkad, for his imposing height and mannered personality. In Tiang Quezon province, Augusto Bigyan is a popular potter. Ogo Bigyan is now well known for his stance, craft, and design. His name is Ogo Bigyan. Now synonyms to this work is donates his art. All of his pottery craft have signature crafts in homes, resorts, hotels, and other restaurants. In Paita Laguna, the craftsmen are chipping wood, produce artwork, chisels, and mallet of varying shapes and size, led out to the table with rich and supplies like glue and other digestive pencils, and lamp spread on another table. And last is Region 10, Northern Mindanao. This is Lumad Ramel Paring wooden sculpture shows that face of indigenous man from the Lumad community in the Bukidnon province. It is in Cagayan de Oro. And as you can see, Mambabatok is Mary Jane Tolentino, or they called painting or manato, that reveals the portrait that resembles the gaze of Apo Wong Od from the Kalinga province. It is in Cagayan de Oro also. The Manobo lady Amy Boris painting shows individual from the Manobo tribe, one of the many indigenous communities that originally settled some areas of Cagayan de Oro city. So, that's all.
So, a ritual is a sequence of activities involving gestures, work, actions, or revered objects. Rituals may be prescribed by the traditions of a community, including a religious community. So, example of rituals of indigenous peoples here in Philippines is called bangil. It is from Benguet. So, a bangil is a recitation of a deceased life, almost like a biography that is chanted. Friends and family members lead the deceased towards heaven by hitting bamboo sticks together. So that is one example of uh, rituals of our indigenous people here in Philippines. So, next is the ceremony. Ceremony is a unified ritualistic event with a purpose usually consisting of a number of artistic components performed on a special occasion. So, example of ceremony is the wedding. So, example of wedding of our indigenous people is the Senpan Buntok or Igorot. So, in the mountains of Cordillera region, the Igorot people celebrate weddings with a deep sense of tradition. The wedding itself can last several days and usually includes an exchange of food that both families of the groom and bride can enjoy. This practice is called insukatan nan makan, and it usually begins with the bride giving back beans to the man, signifying her intention to marry. So in occurrence, Rituals can be repetitive and occur regularly, such as daily meditation or practice. So, ceremonies are in ceremonies are usually one-time or infrequent events like weddings, graduations, or religious rites. So, formality is rituals can be done by a single person or example your personal prayer every day. Then ceremonies are done by informality. Ceremonies are done by um, with formal attire or speeches that he need to uh, to do. Then, so rituals are more about the actions and behaviors with symbolic significance, which can be part of daily life, while ceremonies are formal events with specific purposes that often includes rituals as integral components.
Pre-colonial society. So, what is pre-colonial society? So, pre-colonial society is existing or occurring before an area undergoes colonization. Pre-colonial America. Pre-colonial cultures. So, what is pre-colonial in Philippine society? So, in pre-colonial Philippines, both men and women enjoy the same rights and privileges. Women, like men, can ascend the headship of families, villages, and cities. Women can also ascend the throne of the nation. In some cases, some queens have ascended as sole ruler superior to her consort. So, what are the pre-colonial things in the Philippines? So, pre-colonial treasures includes ear ornaments called panika. The bracelets is also known as the kasikas, and the spectacular serpent-like gold chain referred as to called kamagi. Since their discovery, some of these values gold artifacts have been looted, melted, and sold to different unknown places. So, what are the pre-colonial activities? So, people in pre-colonial in Africa were engaged in hunting and gathering, agriculture, mining, simple man and manufacturing agriculture involved. Most people so the cheaper looks mainly farming activities. So they they gather food by hunting animals, and they also cultivate uh, cultivate soil for the plants.
I am Decadet Ortiga, and my topic is colonial impact and cultural assimilation. Colonial impact and cultural assimilation refers to the profound and often complex changes that are in societies. When one group, typically more powerful and technologically advanced, establishes control over another group through colonization, this process has occurred throughout history as European powers colonized various regions around the world, but similar dynamics can be observed in other historical and contemporary contexts as well. So, colonial impact. Colonial impact refers to the significant and lasting effect of colonial rule on the societies, economic, culture, and environments of colonized region. It often involves the economic exploitation, cultural disruption, and social changes. So, economic exploitation, colonizer often sought to extract resources such as minerals, agricultural products, and labors from the colonized region for their economic benefit. So, political domination. Colonizers established control over the political institutes of the colonized terrorists, often imposing their own legal and governance system. Social and cultural disruption. Colonization disrupt existing social structure and cultural practices. Traditional customs and system of governance were often replaced or modernized. So, cultural assimilation is a process where dominant culture imposes its value, language, and customs on the minority culture, leading to the adoption of the dominant culture traits and the erosion of the minority culture's identity. This often occurs during periods of colonization where the colonizer culture supersedes that of the indigenous population. So, cultural exchange, colonization lead to the exchange of ideas, technologies, and cultural practices between the colonizers and the colonized. By this could result in a blending of culture to varying degrees. Cultural dominance. In many cases, the culture of the colonizer came to dominate that of colonizers. This often involved the imposition of the colonizer's language, region, and customs on the indigenous population. Loss of identity. Cultural assimilation could lead to erosion in the indigenous culture and identity. This might involve the suppression and indigenous language, traditional belief, and practices.
Good morning everyone, my name is Cadet Larita and today I will be tackling about my topic, which is all about challenges in land disputes and exploitations on the indigenous communities in the Philippines. So, indigenous communities in the Philippines have been grappling with land disputes and exploitation for generations. These challenges are deeply rooted in historical injustice and persist due to various factors. So, first is historical injustices. So, many indigenous people in the Philippines have faced historical injustices, including land grabbing and forced displacement during periods of colonization. These injustices have left a lasting legacy of land disputes. Next is land titles. So, a significant problem is a lack of formal land titles for indigenous communities. Without legal recognition of their ancestral lands, these communities are vulnerable to encroachment by powerful entities. Next is weak legal framework. So, while laws in the Philippines recognize indigenous land rights, enforcement and implementation are inconsistent. Strengthening the legal framework is essential to protect these rights effectively. Next is resource exploitation. Indigenous lands often contain valuable natural resources like minerals and timber. This makes sense communities targets for resources and exploitation by mining, logging, and agribusiness companies. Next is violence and intimidation. Activists and leaders advocate for indigenous and rights environmental protection often face violence and intimidation from those benefiting from resource exploitation. Next is solutions and initiatives. So, efforts to address these challenges include legal advocacy, community of organizing, and international pressures. NGOs and indigenous activities play a critical role in raising awareness and advocating for indigenous rights. So, in conclusion, indigenous land disputes and exploitations in the Philippines are complex and deeply rooted problems. Addressing these challenges requires a multifaceted approach involving legal reforms, community empowerment, and increased public awareness. Collaboration between the government, civil society, and indigenous community is vital to finding lasting solutions that respect the rights and dignity of indigenous people in the Philippines. And that is all for my topics, which is all about challenges in land disputes and exploitations. Thank you.
Environmental stewardship and sustainability. What is environmental stewardship? Environmental stewardship refers to the responsible use and protection of the natural environment through active participation in conservation effort and sustainable practices by individual. So, small groups, non-profit organization, federal agency, and other collective network. And next, what is environmental sustainability? Environmental sustainability is the responsibility to conserve natural resources and protect global ecosystems and support health and well-being now and the future, because so many decisions that impact the environment are not felt immediately. A key elements of environmental sustainability is forward-looking natural. So, in fact, the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency defines it as meeting today's need without compromising the ability of future generation to meet their needs. What is the difference between sustainable development and environmental stewardship? So, environmental stewardship is about keeping what we have, while ang sustainable development is about getting what we need. So, we cannot fully satisfy one without satisfying the others. So, sustainable development really comes without impact to the environment, and environmental stewardship rarely occurs without cost and economy.
Indigenous ecological knowledge, or IEK, in the Philippines is rich of diverse body of knowledge held by various indigenous communities across the archipelago. It encompasses traditional practices, beliefs, and wisdom-related environment ecosystem, and sustainable resources management. Some key aspects of IEK, or Indigenous Ecological Knowledge, in the Philippines includes sustainable agriculture. Indigenous community have developed farming methods that are harmony with nature, such as kaingin system or slash and burn, which involves rotational farming and the use of organic materials. Traditional medicine. Many indigenous groups have deep knowledge of medicinal plants and their uses, contributing to the country's traditional healthcare practices. Biodiversity conservation. Indigenous community have their own system of conservation, protecting sacred groups and natural resources through customary laws and benefits. Indigenous forest management. Some communities have sustainable forest practices, which are crucial for maintaining biodiversity and mitigating climate change. Indigenous people in the Philippines. Negrito in Luzon, the Igorots, tribe of Palawan, Lumad, Ati, Bajau, and the tribe of Panay and the Mangyans. It is important to recognize and respect the value of indigenous ecological knowledge and involve the indigenous communities in conservation efforts of making policy making to promote both environmental sustainability and cultural preservation.
Indigenous resistance and revolts. The indigenous people of the Philippines have a rich history and heritage characterized by their resistance and revolts against colonial rule. So here's an overview of the pre-colonial history. Prior to the Spanish colonization in the 16th century, the Philippines was inhabited by numerous indigenous groups with distinct cultures, language, and social structures. These societies were organized into various chiefdoms and sultanates, each with its own governance system. The first pre-colonial colonizations that happened in the Philippines was the Spanish colonization. When the Spanish arrived in the Philippines, they encountered resistance from indigenous communities. Notable revolts include the Tondo Conspiracy in the 1587 and the Cagayan Revolt in 1589. However, the most famous and prolonged resistance was led by Lapu-Lapu, a dato from Mactan Island, who defeated Ferdinand Magellan in the Battle of Mactan in 1521. Next would be the American colonial period. During the American colonial period in the 1898 to 1946, indigenous resistance continued. The most significant was the Philippine-American War in 1899 to 1902, where various indigenous groups fought alongside Filipino nationalists against American forces. The next pre-colonial from the Americans is the Japanese occupation. So in World War II, some indigenous groups resisted the Japanese occupation forces, particularly the Hukbalahap, a communist guerrilla movement. They were aiming to liberate the Japanese away from their homeland. These indigenous groups' efforts were part of a broader anti-Japanese resistance movement in the region, reflecting the determination of local populations to resist against the foreign occupiers.